I was starting to worry that you guys weren't going to remember to come back this week after missing last week's show. And then I just figured you were totally surprised that the show started on time. Welcome to episode 280 of Cocktails in the War Room. I am your host, Mistress Carrie. Welcome to the War Room, the place we've been gathering since March 14th of 2020 when we rode out the pandemic together, did 80 shows in a row every night for 80 nights before we launched the Mistress Carrie podcast and we turned Cocktails in the War Room into the Tuesday night show that you see today. So every Tuesday night at 8:30, we get together here on my official Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and what did I forget? Twitter. Or X, whatever. And we get together to talk about music, to talk about life, to talk about whatever is going on in all of our lives. So I want to welcome everybody to the War Room, the OG War Room family. Thank you for coming back week after week. If you are new to Cocktails in the War Room, maybe you are new to the Mistress Carrie radio show in Charleston, South Carolina on 98 Rock. If that's the case and you're in the War Room for the first time, you got to let us know in the comments. I will warn you and tell you, I can only see the comments for Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook here on the feed, and Twitch as well, but I cannot see the comments from Twitter here on the show in real time. And if you comment on Instagram, know that your actual Instagram handle comes up, not your name, the way that it does on Facebook. So Voorhees says, what's up, YouTube folks? Voorhees is here. Michelle is here. Bish is here. Elsa, Alexis, Carol, Marcy, Christine, Penny joining us. Let's see who else is here. Donna says, welcome to the War Room family, all of the new members. So if you're new, we want to welcome you properly. The OG War Room people that have been here since we rode out the pandemic together, they have dubbed themselves the War Room family, and they want to welcome you properly. I also want to let you know that if you go to mistresscarrie.com and look at the Cocktails in the War Room section of the website, there is a link there that says Dictionary, which is our dictionary. We just spell it a little different. It's also our glossary of inside jokes and terms that you may want to just peruse to get caught up with some of the stuff that you're going to see here in the show. Let's see. Mark Farini says, in Boston, miss AAF. Mark, me too, but there's a lot of great memories and a lot of other places that you can listen to me on the radio and, of course, the podcast, and we'll get into all of that tonight. Jessica saying Seth Shifty Shell Shock from Crazy Town passed away at the age of 49. Yeah, it was an accidental overdose. His manager made the announcement, and because I missed last week's show, which I want to talk to you guys about, that's why we didn't get a chance to talk about that last week. So Voorhees says, what if I watch on YouTube because the video is better, but I comment on Facebook because there are 15 times more people there? That is kind of crazy. The YouTube thing is a slow thing. Out of all of the social media handles that I have, the YouTube page is the one that's been around the least. One of the reasons why is that when I worked at my old radio station and was under contract, a lot of the stuff that I did ended up on the AAF YouTube channel. And so because it was AAF video, I couldn't put it on my YouTube channel. So it wasn't until I started Cocktails in the War Room, launched my YouTube channel, and we've only been streaming on YouTube for a couple of months. So I know that the YouTube channel, now that the podcast episodes are up there and that the War Room goes live every Tuesday night, YouTube is slowly building. And people are finding it all the time. So it's a slow build. Penny wants to know how mom is. And Penny, that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about. Had I not been sick last Tuesday, I probably would have canceled the War Room tonight because the last week has been insane. And because there's a lot to talk about with my mom. So first of all, the reason why I wasn't in the War Room last week, I thought I was dying. Like, I didn't know if I had the flu, if I finally got COVID, which I haven't had yet. I just did not feel well. And it was either heat, because I do not tolerate the heat well at all, or I ate something weird, but I did not feel well last week and literally was laid out on the couch all last Tuesday night. And many of you guys know that my sister got her master's from Harvard this year. I talked to you guys about her graduation party over Memorial Day weekend. So one of the things my sister had planned for a long time was a trip to Italy. And she was going to go with a couple of girlfriends. They were going to go for the start of the Tour de France. They were going to go and just kind of eat their way through Florence and Rome, drink wine, go see the sights. And my sister was so excited about it. And because we have family from Sicily, my sister has been slowly learning Italian for the last couple of years, which has been something that she's done partly because of the pandemic, partly because of the trip, partly because we only ever learned the swears in Italian when we were growing up from my grandfather, that she just always wanted to know. And so she had planned this trip to Italy for a while and was super excited for her. I had planned on taking a couple days off the radio last week and taking the weekend off and going on a little motorcycle trip with my husband. And when my sister was getting ready to go, I said, you know, I'm that conscientious planner, right? We've talked about planning and kind of having a worst case scenario kind of thing when you travel, especially internationally. You guys know that I always travel with a change of clothes and mini toiletries in my carry-on because I've had my luggage lost before, especially in Afghanistan when my body armor was delayed getting to me in Kabul. But there's just certain things that I do. And when I travel internationally, one of the travel tips that they say is to take digital scans of your passport, all of your identification, your healthcare card, just anything that could get pickpocketed out of you, things that you would need to be able to come home. If you have a colored digital scan of your passport, it helps to expedite a new passport at the embassy if for some reason you lost your passport in a foreign country. So there's just a lot of tips like that. Also, having digital scans of whatever prescriptions you need to have, having your trip registered with the State Department, even if you're going to an allied country, the United States, with the way that the world is now, especially with terrorism and all of this other kind of stuff, you can go on the State Department website and you register that you're going to be traveling in certain countries at certain times. And that way they know that if something does happen, some kind of emergency on a grand scale, they have an idea of how many American citizens are there on short-term tourist visas, because it helps them come up with a plan if they need to get you home. And so these are the kind of things that I talk to my sister about. And she kind of rolls her eyes, but she always does it. And one of the things that I told her to do is I was like, look, just make sure that you put a international plan on your cell phone. Even if it's restricted to the number of minutes you can talk or whatever, I want to be able to get in touch with you when you're not connected to Wi-Fi, because of the situation with my mom's illness. For anyone that is new to the war room, my mom has advanced Alzheimer's and dementia, and my sister and I are her caregivers, and we are in charge of advocating on her behalf. And so I take that job seriously, as does my sister. So I was like, do me a favor, just make sure you have an international call plan on your phone, just in case I need to call you. And she was like, yep, no problem. We even both joked that we were going to be both out of the state, even though I wasn't going to be far, for a few days. And it was the first time since my mom got sick that we were both going to be out of the state at the same time, and joked like, you know, nothing better go wrong kind of thing. So I was sick on Tuesday night last week. Wednesday, I still wasn't feeling great, but I definitely felt better. I got a lot of sleep on Tuesday night, napped on the couch when we should have been doing the show last Tuesday for hours. Wednesday, snuggled with me. And then Wednesday, I was working. I was getting ready to take off on Thursday to go on my trip with my husband for a couple days. And I was running some errands and got back to the house. And I got a call from the facility where my mom is that said that she fell and that she needed to go to the emergency room. Now, for any of my extended family or any family friends that may be joining us here in the War Room tonight, You may not have heard this, and for that, I apologize, but the last week has been insane, and I have not been able to call everybody and let everybody know what was going on. So I met the ambulance with my mom at the ER at the hospital on Wednesday night. They were afraid that she may have broken a hip because she fell. And so I called my husband. I went to the hospital, and they did tests and determined that she broke her hip for sure. And so now I'm in the waiting room. My sister is on a plane over the ocean, and the Wi-Fi on the plane wasn't working. So I was trying to message her through every means that I could think of, and she wasn't responding. So I was like, there's no way she's connected to the Wi-Fi on the plane if she's not responding. So then I started kind of, ringing all of the bells with all of the radio stations that I work for, because I was like, okay, this is going to be a thing. So I was at the hospital with her until the middle of the night, Wednesday night into Thursday, came home, got a couple of hours of sleep, had called into work on Thursday. And when I got home in the middle of the night, I had texted my sister and said, when you land and your phone connects, I need you to call me. It's important. So I don't know, it was like 2:00 in the morning. She called me, and she was like, what happened? And so I had to, tell her that my mom fell down, that she broke her hip, which is for anybody that's ever been the caregiver of someone that's elderly, it's like your biggest fear because it's such a dangerous thing to happen. You could sever your femoral artery, and you could die from that. It's just a really debilitating injury for someone that's older anyway, never mind someone that also is older with dementia and Alzheimer's. So I had to get my sister on the phone. She was like, I'm coming right home. She literally was still on the tarmac in Italy, hadn't even gotten out to go through immigration customs and get her bag yet. And I was like, hold on a second. Let's just pause. There's no need for you to come home just yet. Like, don't come home because you're sad that, I'm now canceling my weekend away with my husband, because that happened as well. But let's just make sure that this surgery is routine, like the doctors are saying. I'm not going to tell you not to come home if you're worried that something could go wrong with mom, but please don't come home because you think this is a burden on me. Like, you've been dreaming of this trip for so long. I want you to enjoy it. So we had to weigh the pros and cons of surgery for my mom to repair her hip, taking into account her medical history, her disease, her age, obviously, the risk factor involved. And we, take our role as caregivers for my mom really seriously. And so we went through everything with the surgeon. Long-term prognosis, trying to let it heal on its own, just everything. And my mom's quality of life, obviously. And if you know anyone that's ever broken a hip, it's incredibly painful. And so we obviously were taking her short-term comfort versus her long-term quality of life into account. And so we opted to have the surgery for my mom. And so she had that surgery on Thursday. She has been in the hospital ever since. The time that I had off to go on my little mini long weekend vacation with my husband, I spent all of that at the hospital with my mom. Obviously back on the radio yesterday, and she's still in the hospital yet. She has not been discharged to go back to where she lives. And so the last week has been really, really hard. Managing, the reality of my mom's illness and age, the fragility of her health, all of the really hard conversations that you have to have with doctors. I told them I don't want you to sugarcoat anything, because not only are we making decisions about my mom's long-term health, but we're also making decisions about whether or not my sister is going to jump back on a plane and come straight home. We want to know the risks. We want to know everything. And so we went over everything. We went over her all of the dangers. And Bish, you're talking about blood clots. So there's the big three. There's infection, there's pneumonia and fluid in the lungs, and there's blood clots. And those are the biggest concerns, which, by the way, are the biggest concerns no matter what kind of surgery you're having. And so those are the things that they focus on in the recovery, is making sure that, you're avoiding blood clots and that you aren't developing fluid in your lungs and obviously infection. And so we have been keeping a really close eye on all of those things. My mom has been getting tests. She has received just unbelievable care. You guys know that my mom was a nurse for 50 years. There were some nurses that were there that she knew from work, which was amazing. There were other people that had just heard about my mom that had never worked with her. And just the caregivers, the nurses' aides, the nurses, the doctors, the paramedics who took her there in the ambulance. I cannot stress enough how wonderful and compassionate they all were. Navigating our healthcare system is really, really hard. The caseworkers that have been helping me navigate all of those things have been just so wonderful and understanding. We've asked a lot of stupid questions. We've asked a lot of not stupid questions. And we've been weighing out pros and cons of everything. And, we've been taking into consideration my mom's long-term health wishes, obviously, because she did have the time to write all of those things down. And it's been a really, really hard week. These kinds of injuries are so dangerous for older people, but even more so for older people with dementia because they don't know what's happening to them. And I can tell you that the confusion that we were anticipating, my mom has been actually really good in the hospital. I don't know if it's been because there's familiar faces. I don't know if it's because she worked in a hospital for so many years that she kind of feels at home there with all of the noises and the beeping and all of that. But she is recovering remarkably well. She was up today. She is obviously sore and tender, but she is on her way to recovery. I'm not sure when she's going to be going home, but this week has been really hard. And my sister is still on her trip. We talk multiple times a day. She FaceTimes my mom every day. She's been sending great pictures. Anytime decisions need to be made, my sister has been involved in all of those decisions. And the reason why I bring it up is not to kind of share personal information, but just like with the travel hacks, right? And the things that you may or may not have thought of when you're traveling abroad. The reason why I bring these things up is that we were shocked when we found out about her diagnosis. And, my mom works in medicine or used to work in medicine for a really long time. And she was that person for our family and all of our family friends that when someone had to navigate an insurance claim or a symptom, if they had a question about a doctor or a referral or a specialist, they always called my mom, day or night, 24 hours a day. If somebody needed something, they called my mom, to the point where, and I'm going to get choked up just thinking about it, to the point where when some of my mom's friends were taking care of loved ones at home, like their parents, and they were dying, they would call my mom to help make sure that their dignity was intact. And so there were times where my mom would get these like middle of the night phone calls and somebody would say, my mom is at home and she's dying. I'm here, taking care of her. I don't know what to do. My mom would rush over there and bathe them and make sure that they were dressed and that they were clean and that their dignity was intact and be able to answer all of the questions. And that's the kind of person my mom was and is. And so, to not have her to ask when we have questions about healthcare stuff has been really hard for us because she's the family expert when it comes to all of this kind of stuff. And so, we have had to put a lot of trust in the advice that we're getting from the doctors and the nurses. And, it's just one more reminder of something that we've lost because of my mom's illness. And so I want to share these stories with you guys because we didn't get to have a lot of conversations with my mom because we didn't know she was sick. We didn't know about her diagnosis. And I know that these conversations suck, right? I know that it's really, really hard to sit down with your wife or your husband or your parents or your in-laws or your best friends. Most people don't even have these conversations until they, maybe have some kind of diagnosis. But I implore you, I don't care how old you are. I don't care how healthy you are. I don't care how old your kids are. I don't care if you're married or single. I bring these things up to you guys because something could happen to you. A car accident, an aneurysm, something completely freak. A tree limb could fall on you while you're in traffic. Like anything is possible. And a lot of people think that process, the healthcare process, the afterlife legal ramifications, the planning of the funerals, I don't think people understand how complicated those things are. And especially if you have elderly parents and multiple siblings, I promise you that all of your siblings do not agree on every specific detail when it comes to finances, when it comes to funerals, when it comes to healthcare proxies, when it comes to DNRs, when it comes to all of those kinds of things. If you don't have these things in place for yourself, in the event that something happens to you and your spouse, especially together in a car together, and your kids need to be taken care of, life insurance needs to be doled out. Say you are incapacitated. Does your spouse know your wishes? Do they know when enough is enough for you? Do they know whether you want to be buried or cremated? Do they know where? Do they know if you want a funeral service or not? If you don't have the answers to all of these questions, you need to have this stuff written down. I can tell you that there are legal services you can go to online for like $50. If you don't have a lot of property, if there's not a huge amount of family, you can go in there and draw up at least a basic will so that these things are taken care of. If you have loved ones that are older and you know that this stuff is not taken care of, if you don't have the answers about, do they want to be on a feeding tube? Are they willing to be on a ventilator? Do they want life-saving measures? How long are they willing to go before they want you to pull the plug? Like, this stuff sucks to talk about. What are their last wishes with the money? Who gets the money? Who specifically doesn't get the money? Because there is something, my lawyer calls it an honesty clause, that when you're writing out your will and all of your documentation, you can purposefully write people out to make sure that those people don't try to then sue your beneficiaries, trying to claim, no, that person really intended me to be there. You can actually name people and say, I am specifically omitting these people out of these documents. And then the honesty clause is that if anyone petitions your will, meaning they try to sue the beneficiaries, they automatically omit anything that they would get in the will anyway. All of these documents, all of these conversations are really, really hard. And when I talk to people about this stuff, there are a lot of people that say, you're so paranoid, Carrie, you're so depressing, you're fixating. And what I can tell you is I don't stress about this stuff, because it's all done for me. As a single person, before I went to Iraq, I did all of these things at the suggestion of the Army because I owned a home and I had life insurance, and they were like, you should really have all of these documents in place, even though you weren't married, even though you don't have any kids, you should still get this stuff taken care of. And so the reason why I'm talking to you guys about it is that even if you know how your family member feels, even if they have expressed these things to you, if you have a sibling that, say, lives on the other side of the country, they have equal say as you do. And what you say your parents want doesn't hold up in court. And if your sibling doesn't agree with, say, organ donation or a ventilator or cremation over burial, they can make your life a living hell fighting you in court over this stuff. And for me, when my mom got brought to the emergency room, my sister and I made sure that all of this stuff was taken care of. When I arrived with two things: my identification and a copy of my mother's medical proxy, and walked right in the door because I am the voice that speaks for my mother. And there was no legal question. There was no, hold on, we need to verify this. There was no phone call we need to make. You try to do that at the hospital, if you can't prove you're a spouse, you have to be able to prove that you are the one that is entitled to make those decisions. There wasn't a question. I had my identification and my mother's medical proxy, and that was it. Heidi says, it was so hard with my mom. I wish that I had the knowledge. My sisters screwed me out of my mom's belongings. This is why I'm telling you guys this. And I'm bringing it up because this week would have been a lot harder on me and my sister if we didn't have all of this stuff taken care of. If we didn't know my mother's wishes, if we didn't know how far my mother was willing to go with her own medical decisions, if we didn't have all these documents in place, there wasn't a question. If something went horrifically wrong in the surgery, we knew exactly what we were willing to do and what we were not willing to let happen per my mother's wishes. It was all done. And that allowed me to just be able to be in the moment and ask the right questions and talk to my sister and make informed decisions without worrying about all of the other crap. And that's why I wanted to tell you guys this story, because it's so important. There are wives and ex-wives. There are people that are separated but not divorced. There are kids that are estranged that have equal right, unless there's documentation otherwise, to make decisions for parents that disown them or to have access to their finances, just all of these kinds of things. And so I bring it up because it's really hard to bring these topics up with the people you love. It's really hard to sit down and go, hey, can we talk about you dying? Can we talk about you being on life support? Can we talk about, what happens to you if you get sick? Can we talk about your money and who gets your house and probate court and power of attorney? The idea of having a bunch of siblings fighting over who gets to make the medical decisions, who gets to make the legal and financial decisions. These are all fights you want to have while the people are still alive, so they can say, no, this is what we want. Because fighting with your siblings, I heard so many horror stories in the hospital over the last week. People telling me that my sister and I have done an amazing job just making sure that everything was buttoned up, because we were constantly asking, is there anything else we need to get for you? Is there anything else you need? Do you have questions for us? And they have told me horror stories about parents that live with one of their children, but didn't have a medical proxy and didn't have a power of attorney. And this sibling that lives in California that hasn't come home in 10 years is fighting for a say over the parents' money and over the medical choices. And the child that they live with is like, but they live with me, and they're like, good story, bro. We're all equal siblings because it's not written down. People that were trying to get access to their parents' bank accounts while they were still alive because there was no power of attorney to keep them away from the parents' credit cards and bank accounts. I mean, you don't want to think that the people you love are going to battle over that stuff. But trust me, if you have kids that are under 18 and you think that both sets of in-laws get along really great, let something happen to you and your spouse. And let both of those sets of grandparents battle over who gets to raise the grandkids, under what religion, what school they're going to live, what school they're going to go to, what town they're going to live in, what they're going to do with your house. Trust me, your in-laws and your parents are not going to get along when, you're like, no, we're raising the kid Protestant. Nope, they're going to be Catholic. Like, write it down. We have the internet now where you can do a lot of this stuff legally online. If not, you can get an estate attorney or an elder care attorney, and they can put all of this stuff in writing, and you could probably do it for somewhere between $500 and $1,000, depending on if you own a business, depending on how much property you own, depending on how many siblings there are, depending on if there's minor children or not. Just please do this. Like, please, please, please do this. Because lawyers getting involved with your decisions, like you could know that your husband, or not husband, but maybe your parents or your sibling or something did not want to be on a ventilator. And if you don't have 100% say over that decision, you could have a sibling in California going, no, you have to keep them plugged in. And you could be like, but that's not what they want. And they're like, where does it say that? And a lawyer can go to court and stop you from carrying out your loved one's wishes because it wasn't written down. So this week, on one hand, has been excruciatingly difficult. And on the other hand, has proven that my sister and I have done all of the right things, because it could have been so much worse. And so many people in hospital administration, the nurses, the paramedics, when I showed up there with a copy of the proxy, they were like, wow, you're prepared. And I was like, yeah, it's all, here you go. Like, what else do you need? I had a list of my mother's allergies. I had a list of all of the medications she was on. I had a list of all of the surgeries that my mother has had over the years. These are the kinds of questions they're going to ask you at 2:00 in the morning when you are of not sound mind, because you're scared and you're tired and you're like, wait, is she, and they're at, does she have a latex allergy? Is she allergic to penicillin or antibiotics? And you're trying to make these decisions when it's all written down. You don't have to worry. Here's her medical records. Here's the power of attorney. Here's her insurance information. Here's my ID. I'm making all the decisions. Let's go. And it has made things remarkably easy. I also have a wonderful relationship with my sibling, which I know not a lot of people do. And so my sister and I don't make decisions without each other. I know that's not the case with a lot of other siblings, and that I can't give you advice on how to navigate that when you're trying to get things written down and made legal and you're battling with your siblings over property, decision-making power, whatever. But you guys are commenting faster than I can keep up, but it's horrible how family can turn on each other when something happens to parents. I'm the youngest of 5 and was not part of anything when my dad got sick. Even now, nothing informed about my mom. It's all my older sisters, and it does get frustrating. I applaud you and your sister for going through the stress and having it all under control. You guys, I'm telling you, you might get together at Christmas every year and think everything is fine. Just please. I know that money is tight right now. This is not something that you skimp on, right? Like, don't get coffee in the drive-thru for 6 months. Make your coffee at home. Like, this is worth sacrificing for, because the last week has been so hard for me anyway that it could have been so much worse. And I do want to point out before we get on with the show, because for anybody that's new, they're like, what the hell is this, like a lawyer show? No, we have a lot of other stuff to talk about that's fun. I just wanted to tell you guys what's been going on in my life the last week. Oh, wait, now I just lost my train of thought. Shit, I hate it when that happens. I haven't slept more than 4 hours in a week. I am just out of my mind. Where was I going with that? I don't know. Anyway, that's why I wanted to tell you guys all of this stuff, was just I want you to just really be able to start these conversations. This is worth sacrificing for. This money, these lawyers going online to, the legal Zoom. They're not sponsoring the show, but they should. Just spend a little bit of money, put it on your credit card. Like, this is something that's important enough to sacrifice for. Trust me. Heaven forbid something happen. You're going to want to have this stuff done. Okay. So thank you guys for all of the wonderful comments about my mom. Thank you guys for always asking about her. You guys have been with me since the beginning when I found out about her diagnosis. You guys have been through so much with me over the last 4+ years. And so I did not want to keep this from you. And I also just wanted to be able to share, not only some of the hardships, but also some of the things that have worked for us. And having all of these things in order this week, especially while my sister was away, has just made things so much easier. So yeah, it's been good. Steven says, happy birthday, Michelle. Michael Cole says, sounds like it needs to be an early night. Actually, no, because I spent the whole day in the hospital, so I have a lot of work to do tonight. So no, it is not going to be an early night tonight. I'll show this episode to a few people. Maybe things will happen, says Voorhees. You know what? Please, let them see the first half hour of Cocktails in the War Room. They don't have to, get in on all the stupid jokes and all of the music talk and whatever. But for people that don't think that this is necessary, it is. It is. And if there is a elder care estate attorney that wants to sponsor my show and do a podcast episode about this, let's go, because I am more than willing to share what little knowledge I have of this kind of stuff. And I think it would make a really interesting podcast episode. By the way, this is why a lot of bands sell their music publishing. It's also why Wyc Grousbeck cited that he is selling the Celtics. They announced that yesterday. The asking price, I believe, $4.3 billion. Back in 2002, ownership bought the team for $350 million. So it just goes to show you how much money they stand to make. And part of the reason in the press release was for long-term family financial planning, which means either none of the kids wanted to take over the team, or nobody thought any of the kids were capable of taking over the team, or two siblings wanted to both take over the team and not together, and they knew it was going to be a disaster. So they opted to cash out, sell the team, and be able to allocate the money, which is what a lot of musical artists do with their publishing rights, because they either don't have someone that is going to be able to manage the publishing of the band, the songwriting credits, or they want to be able to control who gets how much of the money. And that's exactly why these bands are doing it. And we can talk about last week's podcast episode with Scott Stevens from the Exies, because he's a music producer, and he talked at length about music publishing rights and songwriting credits and what those are all worth. And that's exactly why artists are selling these music rights, because they want to be able to dictate and determine exactly where these massive amounts of money are going. Let's see. Brett says, War Room fam, let's buy the Celtics. Yeah, just $4.3 billion. Listen, if you guys have $4.3 billion collectively, I would like to take out an expansion loan for Cocktails in the War Room and Bigfoot First Productions and MCHQ, because I would like to do some renovations. If you guys have that much money, trust me. They're going to make bank on the team, Jen. Absolutely they are. I read today that the Celtics are the fourth most valuable team in the NBA. And I think at $4.3 billion, they have got to be in the top 10, if not top 20 of the most valuable sports franchises worldwide. Because I think a lot of people forget a lot of the soccer teams, football teams over in Europe that are worth a lot of money as well. But yeah, they're going to make a lot of money. And that's why they cash out. the Celtics. They cited it in the press release. The same thing with the music, all of that stuff. So, all right, I want to fill you guys in on a couple things before we talk about the podcast. First of all, beautiful weather. I am always trying to get you guys Mistress Carrie deals on things. If you know anyone that has ever wanted to try skydiving, Jumptown Skydiving in Orange, Massachusetts is the first commercial drop zone in the United States. And they are right in Orange, Mass, about 70 miles west of Boston. An unbelievable view. It's why I started skydiving there years ago. They're offering $40 off a tandem skydive with the code when you book online at jumptown.com. Use the code Mistress Carrie. And it'll take $40 off the tandem. Then if you decide to get video or not, that's great. But you can get $40 off the jump. And that's good for this entire season. So you could book the tandem now for, say, in the fall to go leaf peeping. You could give it as a gift for a birthday, a graduation gift. You could use it later in the year. But it's good for a tandem in the 2024 skydiving season, which usually ends around Halloween because it just gets too cold after that. So here's a Mistress Carrie deal you can take advantage of really, really easily. Go to jumptown.com, book a tandem. You pick the day and the time. They're open 7 days a week. And then when you're checking out with your credit card, use the code Mistress Carrie and you'll get $40 off. Ani Ange joining us in the war room. Ani Ange was hanging out with me and my mom today at the hospital. She says she's got $100 she wants to donate towards the $4.3 billion price tag. So just a great deal if you want to go and try skydiving. If it's something on your bucket list, you might as well do it at a discount. And it's only for Mistress Carrie listeners. Speaking of skydiving, the second annual Scout Sniper Association Skydiving Boogie is happening at Jumptown Skydiving. It is coming up on Saturday, July 13th. So not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. The Scout Sniper Association is Marine Scout snipers, but obviously any snipers are welcome, and any Marine veterans are welcome. Any veteran families are welcome, not only to come out and be able to watch the snipers jump. If you want to jump with the snipers, you can do that. If you want to support the event, but you're not able to make it out to Jumptown on Saturday the 13th, they put together merch. So this is the graphic right here, which is pretty badass. They put together merch. So there's t-shirts, hoodies, and tank tops. And if you go to the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com for Saturday, July 13th, there is a link. You can just buy the merch. You can order it online, order it in your size. They'll ship it right to you. And obviously this goes to support the Scout Sniper Association, which is a nonprofit that is there to help snipers, their families, sniper veterans, with financial assistance when they're in crisis, with medical help if they're in crisis. It's a really amazing organization. If you know a sniper, and they are not part of the Scout Sniper Association, you can get more details. Just go to the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. It's next Saturday, July 13th. But I would love to get some people out. If you have a motorcycle and you're looking for a place to go ride, Orange, Massachusetts is a beautiful ride. Jumptown is right at the intersection of Route 2 and 202. So if you're just looking for a reason to go out on the motorcycle and you just want a destination, go watch a bunch of snipers jump out of a plane. But the gear is really, really cool. And it also supports the Scout Sniper Association, which is a 501c3. So you can get more details at mistresscarrie.com. You can look up the Scout Sniper Association on Facebook or on their website to get more details. And for anybody that's new to the War Room, you may not have been introduced to Wednesday yet. She has been kind of goofing off. Do you want to say hi, Wednesday? You want to say hi to everyone? Huh? You want to say hi to everyone while I go reaching in the cookie pocket? Do you want to get down for me? Good girl. Do you want to give me your paw? Can I have the other paw? No, other one. Thank you. Down. There you go. By the way, if you're new to the War Room, Wednesday is my co-host. She drinks a lot, obviously, and that's where you can find her on Instagram at Wednesday the Goth Pug on Instagram. So, Ani Ange says, "Go jump." They strap you to a guy. Can you pick your guy? So, Donna, let me tell you how this works. So, There is a weight limit. You can go to jumptown.com for all of the FAQs. Depending on the size of the tandem student, that helps determine the tandem master, height, weight, all of that stuff. So it's kind of hard to pick your guy just because they get matched up based on the canopy, based on the size of the person that they're jumping with. So that it's all based on safety. Me and my husband will take a walk back there, says Jen. That would be awesome. The cookie pocket should be in the dictionary. I thought the cookie pocket was, Tracy. Is it not in the dictionary? It's getting added if it's not. Down. Yes, the cookie pocket is how we bribe Wednesday to join us on the show every week until we do mail call and she gets bribed to come back and hang out with us. Penny says, strapped to a guy. Is he hot and single? It is possible. I don't know for sure, but it is possible. Heidi says, Carrie, we need you to post more pics of Wednesday on Instagram. Heidi, noted. I do take a lot of pictures of her. Sometimes I forget to post them or she forgets to post them. This last week, I have not had the wherewithal to do much of anything. Right? Right? But we will post some more pictures, right? Do you promise? Because you're so beautiful. Wednesday has also been very upset with me because I have been gone so much because I've been at the hospital with my mom and I haven't been able to bring Wednesday with me. Whereas where my mom lives full time, I can bring Wednesday with me. So she gets to visit Grammy from time to time. The Scout Sniper Association is watching in the war room right now from Instagram. So you can follow them on Instagram. You can follow them on Facebook. Just go straight to their website, get all of the information. They're always looking to broaden their network of snipers, obviously, and people that want to volunteer. They do a lot of different events, and here it is right here. And they just want to get the word out. And so, I want to get you guys all involved and just go and cheer them all. I'm going to be there all day. I'm one of the presenting sponsors. So come and hang out with me, cheer on all the snipers. We always go out after for food and drinks and stuff. So it's going to be a great day. Get all the details at mistresscarrie.com on the events calendar. So there you go. All right. Want to let you know, if you didn't know already, you can hear me every midday, 10 to 3 in the afternoon, every weekday on 98 Rock, Charleston's best rock in Charleston, South Carolina. So I want to apologize for everybody that was new to the show and I was out sick a couple days last week. Now you know why. But I'm super excited to add 98 Rock to the list of stations that I'm on. You can find the station and download their free app to listen from anywhere. Just go to my98rock.com. You can find the station, get details on the music, get details on all the other DJs. But super excited to be part of the 98 Rock family. Also, of course, you can hear me every weekday afternoon on 100 FM The Pike here in Massachusetts. Just go to pikefm.com. You can download the free Pike app. Some events I want to remind you guys about coming up fast on July 20th. The annual Pike Hair Fest is going to be at Indian Ranch on Webster Lake. Also coming up August 31st, Rockfest is going to be at Indian Ranch. And coming up next Thursday, July 11th, once again, I'll be broadcasting live from the Sherwood Diner at Polar Park in Worcester, Massachusetts, cheering on the Woo Sox. And you can get the details on this on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Other way, this way. I'll get it right someday. It's been over 4 years. I still haven't friggin' figured it out. And also, you can just go to mistresscarrie.com and go to the radio show page to get more details on the Pike and the link to download the app and to stream the station online. And also, every weekday afternoon, you can hear me on 106.3 The Bone, which is Portland's rock station in Portland, Maine. You can go to 1063thebone.com, download the free Bone app. You can listen anywhere. If you're wondering the kind of music, 98 Rock is a mix of kind of old and new rock. The Pike in Massachusetts is more classic rock. The Bone in Portland is more new rock. So it depends on what kind of music you want to listen to. So Wendy says, considering sending my USMC hubby. Wendy, there's spouses there too. You don't have to skydive. One of the reasons that these events are so great is that it forces a lot of these veterans, regardless of branch, to all hang out together and network. It's a reason for them to talk about their service, to talk about where they were during their deployments, to be able to swap information about VA claims, veteran-owned businesses. A lot of the things we talk about in the Veterans Rock Facebook group that I have on Facebook, it's the same kind of thing, except now all of a sudden they're meeting veterans that are in their area. They're like, oh, dude, I didn't know you served with such and such a unit, and you live 2 towns away. Let's go grab a beer or network, or, oh, hey, I need an HVAC guy. You're also a Marine and you own an HVAC company. Well, I'm going to call you. This networking in person is really, really important, which is why organizations like the Scout Sniper Association do these in-person events and don't just do everything virtually, because it's not just about raising funds, but it's also building the tribe of veterans together so that they know that there's people that care about them, that people that they can turn to, people that they can talk to and share their experiences with. And it's also, as the spouse, it's also amazing to talk to other spouses, because you're sharing information with them too. Your experiences about what it's like when they were deployed, how to answer questions about navigating healthcare for yourself, how to answer questions about the kids, to share resources on that kind of stuff. These events are great. And for civilians, just come and cheer them on, because we're always, as civilians, wondering what we can do to make a difference. This is one of the things you can do. Just come out and support them. Swing by, hang out for an hour, bring the kids. It's really cool to bring kids. There's a big observation area because they love seeing the planes. They love watching the skydivers. So it's really cool that way too. So another place that you can listen to me, 1063thebone.com. in Portland, Maine. Let's talk about the podcast. Obviously, we didn't get to recap the podcast last week, so we've got 2 recaps. One, Morgan Lander from Kitty was episode 211. That episode went live 2 weeks ago. An episode that I was just so happy to do because I've known Morgan since she was 17 years old when the first Kitty record came out. Their new album, Fire, is available everywhere. So that's episode 211. Then last week, episode 212, Scott Stevens from the Exies. And you guys will remember back, I think it was episode 187 or 189, Zach Malloy from the Nixons was on. Those guys with Marty Fredrickson, they're known as the Four Horsemen. And they are these songwriting, like professional songwriters and music producers that are working with all of the big bands in rock right now. I'm talking Shinedown, Theory of a Dead Man, Hailstorm, Daughtry, Aaron Jones, New Year's Day, Lilith Czar, Dorothy, Plush, like so many bands that are on the podcast that are played on the radio right now. These are the guys that are helping the artists that we love write the songs that we love. And so Scott and I went into detail about the songwriting process, about songwriting royalties. He said that was the first time anyone ever asked him in an interview about how music publishing works, about how you divvy up the money that's made off of the song that you helped to write, which is something that you get to keep. So if you had, Freddie Mercury is a perfect example, right? Queen is selling their music rights for $1.27 billion. Well, Freddie Mercury's not alive anymore, but that doesn't mean that his estate doesn't get his 25% of the share of all of the songwriting. So that is something that you can leave to people, those songwriting credits. That's why when Prince died without a will, and he had 6 siblings, 3, I believe, I'm getting this right, 3 full-blooded siblings and 3 half-siblings. And they all had equal claim over Prince's estate, his archives, his property, and most importantly, his publishing, which means the rights to Purple Rain and When Doves Cry and Little Red Corvette. And so 3 of the siblings have retained the publishing directly. The other 3 siblings cashed in for a lump of money and sold their publishing rights to a publishing house who then manages, but the publishing house only owns a percentage, like the ownership of a sports team, so that they then have to negotiate with the other 3 siblings that own the rights. Even Prince didn't have a will. You would think somebody with unlimited means would have had a business manager or somebody go, hey, why don't we put your shit in order? And he didn't. So the songwriting and the publishing rights, that's how people that have a one-hit wonder career continue to make money off of that song and airplay when it gets used in commercials, when it gets used in movies and television shows, when it gets put in all of those digital jukeboxes in bars around the world. Like if another artist covers that song and they make money off of it, the example that Scott Stevens and I talked about was that Elvis Presley didn't really write songs. He went to songwriters and said, I want to do that song. And then they wanted the publishing rights. So Colonel Parker and Elvis went to a very young and naive Dolly Parton, who had a mediocre hit with I Will Always Love You, and said, Elvis wants to do that song, but he wants the publishing. And she probably could have used the money that Elvis was offering to buy the publishing. Probably wasn't very much. And she said no to Elvis. Had she not done that, when Whitney Houston covered I Will Always Love You, which is one of the most popular movie soundtracks ever and one of the highest charting singles in the history of recorded music, Dolly Parton gets the money from that because she wrote the song. And I believe she wrote it herself. And I believe she wrote it on the same day as Jolene, which is kind of insane that she just had a good day that day. So if you're really curious about songwriting, hey, my buddy Neil Coulon is here in the War Room. I was at Paisley Park last week, and the whole situation is a hot mess, he says on Facebook, about the siblings and who, because Prince didn't have a freaking will. If you just joined us, go back and watch the first 30 minutes of the episode, and you'll know why I am pointing at you right now. It's a disaster when people are fighting over your stuff, and they're fighting over it if you're poor, and they're fighting over it if you're Prince. So this is episode 211 and episode 212. Obviously, all the episodes, you can find them anywhere. This week's new episode, which comes out at midnight tonight, is episode 213, featuring bassist Michael Devin from the Dead Daisies. He was also the bassist in Whitesnake for 10 years. What you may or may not know is that Mike Devin and I grew up in Leominster together and went to high school together. He has played bass for Kenny Wayne Shepherd. He played bass for Whitesnake for years and years and years. He's done a lot of session work, which we talk about in the episode. And now he's the bass player in the Dead Daisies. And I thought it would be really cool to interview someone that I grew up with. He's, I think, a year younger than me. And we were like some of the rock and metal heads at school together. And so what's funny is that he told me that it was like on his bucket list to like be interviewed by me, because he always thought growing up that if he ever made it getting interviewed on my show, that would mean that he finally made it in his career. And I was like, dude, you got to come on the show. It would be great to be able to interview somebody that I've known for almost my entire life. And it's always weird interviewing somebody that you know really well. I don't see Mike all that much. He doesn't live in Massachusetts anymore, but I've obviously known him my entire life almost, because we went to high school together. So he is my guest this week, and this is going to be a very Leominster-centric episode, but I think you guys are going to get a kick out of it. So let's see. Enjoyed last week's, oh God, hold on. Travis said, enjoyed last week's podcast with Morgan from Kitty. Travis actually sent me a really nice note about that. She's awesome. And the conversation that Morgan and I had about the differences for women in rock now as opposed to then, significant. And we talked a lot about that and about how they got treated as underage girls out on the road too. So this is episode 213. Episode 212 is Scott Stevens from the Xyz. Episode 211 is Morgan Lander from Kitty. So Jessica says, Kenny Wayne Shepherd is awesome. Absolutely. Someone that knew you before the purple hair. Yeah, he knew me when I had the big hair, when it wasn't purple. So that's how far back we go. Happy birthday, Betty. Good night. I'm sorry that we weren't going to be able to. Hold on. Just full disclosure, guys. I'm not having a cocktail tonight because it's been too much of a week and I have too much to do. So a little free plug for Polar Seltzer, who we just got to get them to sponsor the show at this point. Cheers to your birthday. Sean Curtis joining us on Instagram. What's up, Sean? Bish says, I will always love you royalties. Definitely paid for Dollywood. Those I will always love you royalties have been paying for little kids to get free books for decades. Because if you guys don't know about Dolly Parton's free book program, you can sign up any child, regardless of means or not, and sign them up to her book program. And she sends like millions of books to little kids every month free of charge. It's unbelievable. And yeah, Whitney Houston is helping to pay for all of those books too. So, Jonathan says, I'm having a Canada Dry. Let's see. All right. So that is this week's podcast episode. Just as a quick reminder, because I know we're running late because I already was talking about the lawyers and the accountants and all of that bullshit. If you subscribe to the podcast, you get the weekly episodes on Wednesdays, and then you get the sit rep every weekday, which is rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates. It's only around 5 minutes. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 7, but it just runs down all the headlines for you. So when you're making coffee in the morning, in the shower, brushing your teeth, driving to the drive-thru, heading into work on your commute, you can get caught up with tours that get announced, album release announcements, just any of that stuff. And if you're wondering where you can listen to the podcast, pretty much everywhere. The audio episodes are available on YouTube. If you are not technologically proficient, just go to mistresscarrie.com and click play on any episode you want to listen to. There's embedded players for every single episode, every sit rep, every full-length episode of the podcast, every bonus episode of the podcast, and you can subscribe to the podcast wherever it is that you get your podcast. Apple, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, Pandora, wherever you listen to podcasts. Unfortunately for us, we are still holding strong with 149 countries listening to the Mistress Carrie podcast. We have not been able to hit that 150 mark yet. It's a goal of mine to hit it before the end of the year. We just haven't gotten there yet, but fingers are crossed that we're going to try and get there. But to all 149 countries that listen to the Mistress Carrie podcast, thank you. If you're celebrating your birthday today, Betty, you're sharing it with Jerry Hall, Mick Jagger's famous longtime wife, Ashley Tisdale from High School Musical, and Roy Britton, the professor from Bruce Springsteen's band. They're all celebrating their birthdays today. So today's your birthday. Cheers to you. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Happy birthday, Betty. Jonathan says, come on, Africa. Bish says, the fireworks at Gillette just wrapped up. They were amazing. Hey, just a side note, a reminder. If your dogs hate fireworks, call the vet tomorrow morning and get the meds because it'll be too late to do it on Thursday. So, or just make a plan to have them in the basement or whatever. If you've got those neighbors that are just going to set off fireworks until 4:00 in the morning. All right. I wanted to give you this news that if you were planning on seeing Heart this year, especially on the Def Leppard and Journey Summer Stadium Tour at Fenway or anywhere else they're playing around the country, Ann Wilson released this statement today. We knew that she had surgery recently, but she didn't say why. Originally, they had said they were canceling the European tour dates so she could recover from the surgery, calling the surgery routine, and that it wasn't a big deal. Now, Ann Wilson has come out and said that the surgery was to remove something that has now been determined as cancer. Her doctors have advised her. You can read the whole, this is from Ann Wilson. She posted it up on all of her social media today. They want to have her go through preventative chemotherapy and have asked her to take the year off. So Heart dates for the rest of 2024 have been canceled. She also said that this is going to be the only time she even talks about it. She didn't get specific about what type of cancer, where the surgery was or anything, But if you had tickets to go and see Ann Wilson or Heart this year, she is saying in this statement that she's coming back in 2025, that this is just a temporary thing, a pause, she called it. And obviously, Ann's been a guest on the show. She follows me on Twitter, which is like banana pants bonkers. So we're sending our love to Ann Wilson from the War Room here. Without Ann Wilson, without Nancy Wilson, without Stevie Nicks and some of the other pillars of, women in rock, women like me would not have been taken seriously. And so many women that followed in their footsteps would not have been taken seriously. And she is a legend and a queen. And so I'm so sorry that she's been sidelined for the rest of the year, but also really happy that it sounds like she is on the mend and that it's all preventative. And that's great news. So we love you, Ann. Feel better. Okay, let's go over some shows because a lot of stuff got added to the concert calendar. Obviously, these are all shows at the TD Garden, including Aerosmith on New Year's Eve. The Black Keys, you guys know their entire arena tour got canceled. So that show, if you have tickets, get your refund. But all of these shows are coming to the TD Garden. If you are joining us in the War Room from outside of New England, know that all of these tours are out on the road and probably coming to a venue near you, wherever you're joining us from. The DCU Center in Worcester is going to be hosting the Silver Scream Con September 13th through the 15th, and also Iron Maiden is going to be there on November 6th. So many shows are getting announced all the time. It's crazy. Big Night Live has got The Warning, Coal Chamber, Asking Alexandria, The Marvelous 3, and Lit, and Palais Royale have announced shows and are all going to be in Boston. Big Night Live is, of course, the venue that is right next to the TD Garden. The Xfinity Center is always busy all spring, summer, and fall. All of those shows are either on sale or sold out, but you can get the details on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Greta Van Fleet at Mohegan coming up next month. Godsmack, Nothing More, and Flat Black are going to be up in New Hampshire and Maine, and then at Mohegan Sun later in the year. Seven Dust, 2 shows in September at the Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom. The Adrian Belew, Steve Vai, Danny Carey Beat Band is going to be at the Schubert coming up in October, except just announced that they are going to have a massive 50th anniversary celebration. They're releasing a new album next year, and they just announced a bunch of tour dates this year, including a show at the Tupelo Music Hall in Derry, New Hampshire, the Wilbur Theater in Boston, Ridgefield, Connecticut at the Ridgefield Playhouse, and the Strand Ballroom in Providence, Rhode Island. So if you're an Accept fan, we talked a lot about them with the episode with Killington Pitt last month. The Leader Bank Pavilion has got everybody from I Prevail and Slash to 311 to Bush, Falling in Reverse with Black Veil Brides and also Jane's Addiction. So all of those shows are happening right on the harbor at the Leader Bank Pavilion in Boston. Also, of course, preparing for Metallica at Gillette Stadium on August 2nd and 4th. And don't forget the Metallica takeovers. They're going to have a ton of events that whole weekend in and around Boston. I'm sure they'll do some at Patriot Place as well. But there will be book signings and whiskey tastings and cover bands and movie screenings and all kinds of stuff around the Metallica dates as well. Let's see. Why will this thing not change? There we go. Fenway Park, the Foos, sold out. Did you guys see Dave Grohl at Wimbledon today? Hair pulled back, business suit. People didn't even recognize him. Then all of a sudden it hit that Dave Grohl was like dressed like a banker at Wimbledon with his wife. Hilarious. Blink-182. Then we got Def Leppard and Journey with the opening act to be announced because it was Heart. Green Day, the Smashing Pumpkins, Rancid and the Linda Lindas, and Pearl Jam. I do want to let you guys know, because I wasn't in the War Room last week, that I did go to the Summer Camp with Trucks tour to see Hootie and the Blowfish, the Bare Naked Ladies, Edwin McCain, and Collective Soul. New addition to the t-shirt collection. Collective Soul made Fenway Park shirts. Had to have one. So, it says Boston down here. So, and then it has number 24 on the back. So thanks to Ed Rowland and the guys from Collective Soul for the amazing seats. Thank you for the special treatment. Had an absolute blast Got a little wet. Rainstorm came through, but otherwise it was fine. The Palladium in Worcester has got Flat Black coming up at the end of the month. Set it off New Year's Day from ashes to new in time for Halloween. The NoFX finale tour, that is going to be at Campanelli Stadium in Brockton. That's coming up August 31st and September 1st. The New England Metal and Hardcore Festival is happening in September at the Palladium as well. Oh, and Wednesday is making her way down because she knows we're getting close to mail call. Roadrunner in Brighton has got everybody from Newfound Glory and Kaleo to the Hives, the Red Clay Strays, Rise Against, and Dayseeker. More shows are getting announced too, by the way, for Roadrunners, so make sure you're listening for that. The MGM Music Hall at Fenway, a ton of stuff got added. The Pretenders, Cheap Trick, Taking Back Sunday, Widespread Panic, Kings of Leon, Sting. Sting's on there twice because 2 shows, the 4th and the 6th. Queens of the Stone Age, 2 shows, Sisters of Mercy. If you don't know what that is, the MGM Music Hall at Fenway is the new concert venue that is down at the end of Lansdowne Street behind Center Field at Fenway Park. House of Blues has got the Struts. That got added recently. Bad Flower. That got added recently. Also, Rival Sons and Clutch, Airborne Toxic Event, Blues Traveler, Hate Breed, and Testament are all coming to the House of Blues. Wednesday, you showed up just in time for mail call. I'm shocked. Coming at the Paradise Rock Club, Keith Wallen from Breaking Benjamin on his solo tour, supporting his solo album Infinity Now, Crown the Empire, the Lemonheads, 2 shows at the Paradise. Also, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses and Gwar all playing at the Paradise Rock Club. Right, Wednesday? You're being such a good girl. Also, City Winery Boston, Robbie Krieger from The Doors, John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, John 5 has got 2 shows, and also Richie Kotzen. All of those shows are up on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com as well. And nothing new has been added to the stage at Suffolk Downs yet, but as soon as more stuff gets added, I will let you know. Wednesday, you're peeking over here. What are you doing? Okay. New releases coming out on Friday. Not a lot of stuff this week. A ton of stuff next week. This week, Melissa Etheridge, I'm Not Broken, live from the Topeka Correctional Facility comes out, and REO Speedwagon live at is that Rock Palast 1979. So these are really the only 2 rock-related releases that are coming out this week. But next week, new Eminem, Hardy, and Tim Montana are all coming out next Friday, which is huge. All right, mail call this week, which is why Wednesday has joined us, right, Wednesday? Because you know there's something in here because you got mail Wednesday. Are you excited? It says, "Hi, Wednesday. I hope you enjoy the box. I apologized. I haven't sent anything in Mom's mail. I did add something for Mom, though. Enjoy, Carrie. See you soon. Love, Denise." And once again, the card is, you guys know how much I love these cards, is original artwork made by Emmy, who is a patient at Boston Children's Hospital. So I absolutely love that. So I got Mike and Ike's Red, White, and Blue in time for the 4th of July. Wednesday, you can't have these. You can't have these. But Denise, good timing because you got it in here right before the 4th, which is amazing. There is also, I can't believe this. I didn't even know this was a thing. Dunkin' Vanilla Glaze flavored dog biscuits from Milk-Bone. So now not only is my Dunkin' addiction for me, but the Dunkin' addiction is also being shared by Wednesday. Wednesday, can I put your pug cam on? Here, move over. Sit down. Good. No. Do you want to try the Dunkin' Donuts Milk Bones? Oh my God. They're freaking donuts for dogs. I just can't. Okay, back up. No, back up. Sit down. Good girl. Hold on, I'm trying to break the donut Wednesday. It's too big for you to eat all by yourself. Here we go. Want to have some donut? Is that good? Do you like the donut? I think you do. Where do you guys find Dunkin' Donut dog treats? against my better judgment, I'm going to put the full donut on the couch. She's going to make a mess. Yeah. Don't eat it all at once, Wednesday. She obviously likes the donuts. And crinkly toys, including a patriotic popsicle that crinkles, an avocado that crinkles. For anybody that's new to the War Room, Wednesday, for some reason, these crinkly toys, they're like her favorite thing in the world. And also a patriotic garden gnome. You guys kill me. Denise, I don't know where you find these, but this shit is hilarious. She's making a giant donut mess on the couch right now. Where the hell did those come from? Annette wants to know. Denise says, I found them at Stop and Shop. Of course you did. Because why wouldn't you find Oh my God, look at the mess on the couch. Oh my God. I knew this was a bad idea. Can you not put donut pieces in between the couch cushions? Can you not do that? Huh? Don't eat Mummy's hair that's on the couch either. And then Wednesday's not the only one that got a treat. So, Denise, I don't know if you know this or not. Today is International Anisette Day. So not only did you get the patriotic stuff in here before the 4th of July, but the cookies, I have them on National or International Anisette Day. I will celebrate appropriately. Oh my God. It smells so good. Thank you. Wednesday, how's your donut? All right, she's cleaning up the mess. I don't feel as bad. Can you pick up the rest of the mess, please? Can you clean it up? Please? Thank you. Oh, my goodness. All right, so that's mail call today. So if you need the address, there it is right there. And want to remind you guys, summer is definitely here. So not only are there visors and trucker caps, but there are also tank tops, baby onesies, pint glasses, koozies to keep your beers cold, and so much more stuff. Just go to mistresscarrie.com and click on shop. If you do not have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass yet, what are you waiting for? You get an exclusive live stream every month. You can submit podcast interview questions. You get travel blog updates, early access to event tickets. There is some events that are being planned right now. More details on that coming up. If you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you also get access to exclusive concert tickets, including Hailstorm and I Prevail at the Leader Bank Pavilion, Slipknot on their 25th anniversary tour at the Xfinity Center, and Cage the Elephant tickets. So if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, log into your account because you have access to all of these tickets. If you do not have a Backstage Pass, you can click the Patreon logo at mistresscarrie.com, or you can just go to patreon.com/mistresscarrie and you can get a Backstage Pass. And then you find out about stuff early. We do an exclusive live stream every month. Want to remind you guys about all the places you can find me, all the social links, all the social accounts, and then the radio stations, including The Pike, The Bone, and 98 Rock. All the links are at mistresscarrie.com. So if you're ever wondering where you can find something, just go to mistresscarrie.com. And I also just want to put one final plug in for the Veterans Rock Group on Facebook, which is a group that anybody can join, veterans, active duty military, spouses, civilians, whoever. But this is a place for you to talk about military and veteran related topics, charitable events, nonprofits, navigating government agencies, supporting locally owned businesses, putting in medical claims, just trying to build your resources. If you are a veteran-owned business and you're looking to promote yourself, this is a platform for you to do that. If you're a civilian looking for a way to give back or volunteer, there are plenty of opportunities. If you're a civilian and you would just like to support veteran-owned businesses, there are real estate agents and contractors and so many. Wednesday, do you want your toys? Is that what you're over there smelling? Do you want your new toys? Here. I'll take the tags off for you. Here. What's that? Is that a new crinkle? Do you want to play with the avocado wearing a sombrero. Here you go. Here. So it's just a great place to go for people that are looking to just network and maybe track down some people you served with. If you have questions about, maybe you're a civilian, but you have a child that is looking into enlisting and you just have questions. The veterans that are in the Veterans Rock group are always willing to answer questions. And if you're a veteran and you just want to network with other veterans, swap war stories, ask for help, figure out, is somebody going to be around at the Legion? Somebody want to go for a motorcycle ride, whatever it is. Spread the word on the Veterans Rock group, because I want to get as many veterans as we can, and as many civilians as we can, to really build this group into a big resource where we can actually use it for good and make positive change. So for everybody that's already a member of the group, thank you. For everybody that isn't, please go there and join this group and get involved in any of the way that you can. Annette says, thanks for the tickets. You're welcome. Denise, no info on the ice cream date yet. Matter of fact, that was on my to-do list last week. And obviously everything got sidelined with my mom. So I am going to get an answer for that soon, because that needs to happen this summer. Bish says, have a great and safe and wonderful 4th of July. Love you too, Bish. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you for hanging out late night. Share this episode with people that need to hear about all of the legal stuff and all of the health stuff and whatever. This is one of the things that makes the War Room great, is that we're there to support each other, to be able to share experiences and information. And thank you guys for my family, for just being so wonderful and gracious and supportive when it comes to everything that concerns my mom and my family. It really does mean a lot. This has been a really emotional time. The whole time we've been in the War Room, it's been navigating her illness in the early stages, navigating all of the really difficult milestones and really tough decisions. And you guys have been there. I feel like every week I thank you guys for helping me navigate a crisis. But you guys are just continually this amazing source of support for me. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Eddie, what's up, Edwa? So I really, really appreciate all the love and support. It's been really a tough week navigating everything that's going on with my mom. And, just knowing that I have such an amazing support system has always made things a little easier. So have a very safe and happy 4th. Happy birthday, America, you beautiful and imperfect bastard. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Don't forget, episode 213 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, featuring Mike Devin from the Dead Daisies, goes live at midnight tonight. Say goodnight, Wednesday. Thank you for the donuts. Good night, guys. Good night. Say goodnight, Wednesday.